Are COVID lockdowns in China deterring women there from having children? Well, that's the growing concern amongst demographers as Beijing struggles with already slowing birth rates. New reporting from Reuters citing regional statistics and speaking with experts, as well as with young women, suggests the harsh lockdowns of recent months are taking a toll. Fewer children are being born. Beijing already expected its population to begin shrinking in the coming years. A recent UN report predicts India will take over its title of most populous nation in 2023. Now, earlier, I spoke with our correspondent in Taipei, Zachary Lee, and asked why China's zero COVID lockdowns were hitting the country's already declining birth rate.
Well, Stephen, exactly. Some studies have already shown that pandemic and economic uncertainty weigh on birth rates around the world historically. And as we all know, China's zero COVID policy affects society drastically. For example, many women are in difficulties in carrying in a pregnancy and taking care of an infant under heavy restrictions. Let alone, many are facing financial insecurity and worries about the COVID vaccines affecting babies, etc. Some Chinese young people told the media that this zero COVID policy, which is imposing strict controls on people's lives whenever there are positive cases, may have caused profound damage to their desire to have children. So some demographers say that Chinese people fear of losing control of their lives, and this is one of the reasons that they choose to not have babies.
All right, so the financial reasons, the feeling of a loss of control you just mentioned there. Zach, how significant is this, however, for China as a society when we look at falling demographics?
Well, Stephen, you have to understand that we all know the fact that China's past economic growth was supported by its population bonus. This is like the huge working age population. So a falling birth rate will probably have an impact on China's economic growth. Also, in the future, as the decline in the country's fertility rate and the aging of its population become more pronounced, some negative effects were also foreseeable. For example, the Communist Party leadership will continue to age, and it probably will affect the whole society in China, since we all know that the greater the proportion of young people in the society, the more dynamic it is.
We've seen recently that Beijing is trying to make it more attractive to have families, to have larger families. Is it likely to be successful in this? Can it really do something about this trend?
Well, the Chinese government is actually facing a lot of problems. For example, the zero COVID policy, and also, the high property prices and rising education costs. Those are the problems that the Chinese government needs to deal with. The Chinese government now, they have made much efforts to encourage families to have more children. It announced in 2015 that it would allow married couples to have 2 children. But after a brief uptick in 2016, the national birth rate has been falling year on year, same as like this year or probably next year, prompting the Chinese authorities to further loosen the policy to 3 children last year. Well, also, for decades, the local governments in China forced millions of women to abort pregnancy deemed illegal by the state under this one-child policy. But now, they are actually giving slogans or policy to encourage more births. The common incentives we know include cash handouts, also real estate subsidies, and also extension of maternity leave.